The North Atlantic is no ordinary sea. It howls, it hungers, it remembers. Where the sky kisses the icy waves, and cliffs stand like ancient sentinels, legends are born in the mist and buried in the deep. This is not just a place of storms and salt, but of spirits left behind. Iceland, a land stitched together by fire and ice, holds tales older than memory, where every stone, every shoreline, every shadow carries a story. But one tale drifts above them all, colder than the wind, darker than the depths. They call him the Restless Sailor, a ghost with boots soaked in brine, eyes full of sorrow, and footsteps that never stop echoing across the shore. He did not die in peace, and so he cannot sleep. This is his story, a tale of shipwreck and sorrow, of ancient curses and unanswered prayers, a warning whispered by waves. The sea took his life, but not his soul. And if you listen, truly listen, you might still hear him calling. In Iceland, the sea has always been a double-edged sword, a source of survival and a bringer of sorrow. Coastal communities lived at the mercy of the ocean's moods, their lives dictated by tides, storms, and the whisper of wind through sails. For generations, men braved the frigid Atlantic in fragile wooden boats, chasing fish and fortune, but not all returned. Among these countless souls was one sailor whose name has long been lost to time. A strong man, newly wed, with a child on the way, he was beloved in his village and known for his fearlessness on the water. One fateful winter night, he set out before a storm rolled in. The waves rose like mountains, and the wind screamed like a banshee. His ship was swallowed by the sea. No wreckage was found, no body washed ashore, and without a corpse, his family could not perform the sacred funerary rites, a necessity in Norse tradition. For in the old ways, death is not the end unless the dead are properly honored. A soul denied passage to the afterlife lingers between worlds, growing restless, bitter, and cold. In Norse mythology, such souls risk becoming something far worse than ghosts. They become Draugr. These are not wisps or shadows, but reanimated corpses cursed to walk the earth or sea, tormented by unfinished business and untended grief. They smell of rot and seawater, their eyes glowing like distant lanterns in the dark. So it was with the sailor. Denied a burial, denied remembrance, he was claimed not just by the sea, but by something deeper. His soul became adrift, neither in Valhalla nor hell, but bound to the place of his death. The ocean took his life, but left his sorrow behind. And with each storm that rolls across the Icelandic coast, the legend returns, like a tide that never quite recedes. In the ancient Norse world, death was never the end. It was a transition, either to the glory of Valhalla, the cold shadow of hell, or, for the unfortunate and unburied, a far darker fate. The sagas speak of the Draugr, the walking dead, cursed to linger among the living. Unlike ghosts that merely whisper or vanish into mist, Draugr are solid, corporeal beings. They rise from the earth or the sea, grotesquely preserved, bloated with death, reeking of decay and salt. Their eyes glow with unnatural light, blue like the coldest flame, or green like rotting kelp. They are fueled by resentment, grief, and the pull of unfinished fate. The restless sailor, denied burial and forgotten by the sea, became one of them. But unlike the warriors of the old sagas who guard treasures or revenge their slayers, this Draugr wanders the coast, trapped in sorrow rather than rage. His presence is not one of violence, but of deep, suffocating grief. Witnesses speak of him rising from the surf at twilight, his boots dragging across the wet stone, leaving trails of seaweed and sand. His clothing hangs in tatters, soaked, frozen, and flapping in the wind. The air around him turns bitter cold, and the sound of dripping water follows wherever he goes. When the fog rolls in from the ocean, villagers hold their breath. Some say his moans ride on the wind, mournful and hollow, like a dying gull caught in a storm. Others claim to see his silhouette pacing the cliffs, stopping occasionally to peer out at the waves, as though searching for the ship that never returned, or the life he lost beneath it. Children are warned not to linger by the shoreline after dark. Dogs refuse to approach the rocks, and old sailors speak in hushed tones, for they know that a Draugr does not forget, nor does it forgive abandonment. The sailor's curse is one of eternal longing, a grief so powerful it pulled his corpse from the sea and his soul from the afterlife. He is not just a legend, he is a consequence. Legends are often born from whispers, but in Iceland's wind-beaten coastal towns, the whispers come with names, faces, and trembling voices. Encounters with the Restless Sailor are not just distant folklore, they are lived memories, passed down through generations like salt in the blood. One such tale comes from an elderly fisherman from Breiðafjörður. He recalls a strange morning decades ago when his boat, freshly untied, would not drift from the dock. The tide was right, the wind strong, but it was as if something held the vessel in place. As he looked toward the rocky cove across the water, he saw him. Alone, man in a tattered coat stood at the shoreline, motionless in the thick mist. His head was tilted downward, water dripping from his sleeves, his outline blurred yet solid. The fisherman blinked. The man was gone. Moments later, the boat jolted forward, as if released by invisible hands. In the village of Stykkishólmur, a young woman once suffered 7 nights of the same recurring dream. Each night, a loud knock echoed through her sleep. At the door stood a drenched sailor, face pale as moonlight, eyes hollow with longing. He spoke only one word, whispered like sea foam against stone: home. On the final night, she found seaweed tangled in her bedsheets and salt water staining her wooden floorboards, though her windows were locked and no storm had passed. She left an offering of dried fish and a candle by the shore the next morning. The dream stopped, but she never again walked near the sea after sunset. Other signs are more subtle, but no less disturbing. Dogs whimper and flee when approaching certain beaches. Compasses spin erratically along paths near the cliffs. Candles in fishermen's homes flicker violently, even without a breeze. Some say their clocks freeze for a moment. Others claim the air suddenly smells of sea brine and rot when the spirit is near. These encounters are never violent, but they are never forgotten. Those who experience them speak not of fear, but of profound sorrow. The sailor's presence is a heavy one, like the weight of a storm that never breaks, like grief that never ends. He walks not to haunt, but to be seen, to be remembered, and perhaps to finally be found. In a land where the boundary between the living and the dead has always been thin, Icelanders have long relied on ritual and superstition to keep the spirits at bay. Especially when dealing with a Draugr, an undead soul like the Restless Sailor, whose grief-laden presence can infect a home, a boat, or even a dream. The old folks still whisper the remedies, passed down through generations like sacred inheritance. The first, and perhaps most widely practiced, is the use of iron nails, driven into door frames or window sills. Iron, believed to repel malevolent forces in Norse and Icelandic tradition, creates a boundary that the dead cannot cross. The sound of the hammer striking wood was once thought to echo across both realms, warning the spirit to stay away. Another ritual calls for fish bones hung above the hearth, particularly from the first catch of the season. It is said that the sailor, cursed to wander the shore, is drawn to the scent of the ocean. But by offering the bones of a caught fish, symbolizing death completed and consumed, families signal to the spirit that there is no place for the unfinished dead in their home. One of the more unsettling protective rites is the burning of a lock of one's own hair. The act, often performed in silence at twilight, is believed to confuse the spirit's scent, disguising the living from the dead. The ash is sometimes buried in the soil near the front door or scattered into the wind with a whispered prayer. And then there are the sacred remedies of release, passed down in hushed voices among the wise women and old seers. To help a spirit find peace, one must first walk to the very edge of the place it haunts, the cove, the cliff, the tide-washed stone. There, a small rock is chosen, smooth, silent, and marked by the sea. This stone, believed to hold the echo of the spirit's sorrow, is carried to consecrated ground, a churchyard, a holy spring, or a burial site blessed by the old rites. There, the stone is buried with ceremony. Salt is sprinkled over it, and words are spoken, never written down, only passed orally, a plea for forgiveness, a wish for peace. If done correctly, it is said the spirit will feel the weight of the stone no longer pulling it to shore. The restless sailor may then walk no more. But the rituals must be performed with respect, precision, and intention. For if done wrong, or worse, mocked, the Draugr may return with renewed fury. And then, no nail, no fish bone, no fire may be enough. The sea is ancient, and its dead are not easily forgotten. Most spirits fade with time, but the restless sailor is no ordinary ghost. His presence lingers like a storm on the horizon, unrelenting, unresolved. In rare and desperate cases, when the sightings grow too frequent, the dreams too vivid, or the sorrow begins to infect the living, a final measure is taken. A ritual known in ancient whispers as Stjófararbeynir, the sailor's prayer. It is not a ritual for the faint of heart. Traditionally, a vulva, an Icelandic seeress versed in the old ways, is called to perform the rite. In more recent times, those gifted with second sight or strong ancestral ties to the sea may also attempt it. The ritual must begin at dusk, just as the final light bleeds into the ocean, when the veil between worlds is said to thin. A name is essential. Without it, the spirit cannot be summoned. Elders of the village, faded letters, or genealogical records are often consulted to identify the sailor's forgotten identity. Once spoken aloud, the name serves as a key, opening a path between the living and the drowned. The seer stands on the very rocks where the sailor is believed to wander. There, a proxy burial is prepared, a stone plucked from the sea's edge, representing the body that was never found. This stone is wrapped carefully in cloth, usually white, to symbolize a shroud, though some use remnants of a sailor's old tunic or netting as tribute. Candles are lit, even in the wind. Dried sea herbs are burned for smoke, and salt is cast in a circle around the seer. Then begins the chant, a rhythmic, mournful plea in Old Norse, calling the spirit by name, acknowledging its pain, and offering rest at last. Sem varst gleymdur, far nu I free. You who were forgotten, go now in peace. When the final verse is spoken, the stone is carried to the water and set adrift. Some tie it to driftwood, others sink it gently beneath the waves. The ocean must accept the offering. If the sea is calm and the candles burn steady, it is a sign that the spirit has accepted release. But not all rituals succeed. If the name is wrong, if the stone was not taken from the correct place, if the seer shows doubt or fear, the ritual backfires. Instead of banishing the sailor, it invites him. It is said that those who fail the sailor's prayer find their homes filled with damp footprints, mirrors fogged without cause, and the sound of dripping water where none should fall. Worst of all, they report dreams of drowning, always drowning. For the restless sailor does not harm and rage. He clings in sorrow. But sorrow, if left unchecked, can drown just the same. And once he follows you home, no prayer may be enough. Beneath the ghost story, beneath the flickering candles, the fog-drenched cliffs, and the mournful cries carried on the sea wind, lies something deeper. The restless sailor is more than a spirit condemned to walk the shore. He is a mirror. He reflects the anguish of those left behind, the hollow silence of waiting for a ship that never returns. In a land like Iceland, where the sea is both lifeblood and grave, the legend of the sailor is a national wound. It speaks not just to fear, but to heartbreak. To generations of mothers, lovers, and children who stood at the edge of the world, staring out at the waves, hoping against hope for a miracle that never came. The ghost is not a monster. He is memory given form, a grief so heavy it anchors the soul. In this way, he becomes a symbol of unresolved mourning, the emotional paralysis that comes when there are no bodies to bury, no graves to visit, no words to say goodbye. To Icelanders, whose history is etched in salt and carved by wind. The story also represents the trauma of survival. The sea may feed the people, but it also claims them. The Restless Sailor reminds the living that safety is never guaranteed, and that every departure may be a final farewell. He is a walking echo of the cost of seafaring life. But his symbolism goes even further. He is a being suspended in the in-between, liminal space where opposites collide: life and death, land and ocean, memory and forgetting, closure and longing. He walks the cliffs, trapped between two realms, never fully belonging to either. In Norse cosmology, such figures are powerful. They represent the threshold, the moment before transformation or collapse. For some, the Restless Sailor is a warning. For others, a sorrowful guardian. For all, he is a reminder of the weight of things left unsaid and the deep human need for endings, for burial, for rest. He is not merely a ghost of a man, but a ghost of a culture's past, a shadow of a nation's soul. And as long as grief is part of the human condition, he will remain, walking the shore between storm and silence. Though the tale of the Restless Sailor is rooted in ancient seafaring and Norse belief, his shadow stretches long into the present. The story has not faded with time. Instead, it has evolved, taking on new life in an Iceland that balances centuries-old tradition with the fast-moving pulse of modernity. Today, his legend is woven into ghost tours in coastal towns like Stykkishólmur, Saftur, and Vik. Local guides speak his name in hushed tones as they lead curious travelers to fog-drenched cliffs and wind-swept coves. Lanterns flicker, stories unfold, and visitors are reminded that in Iceland, the boundary between folklore and reality is often razor-thin. Artists, writers, and filmmakers continue to be drawn to the sailor's sorrow. In Icelandic literature, he appears as a tragic figure, neither villain nor hero, but something far more haunting, a soul undone by silence. In paintings, he's often depicted as a Nordic wraith, his cloak billowing like smoke, his eyes pale, with longing, framed by a churning gray sea. His image has even appeared in modern graphic novels and video games, where his tale becomes metaphor for loneliness, displacement, or the climate-altered world. As the sea rises and coastal communities face environmental shifts, some reinterpret the sailor not just as a ghost of the past, but as a warning from the future. But perhaps most eerie is how the sailor has begun to haunt the digital world. Online forums and paranormal communities share strange encounters. Photos of misty human shapes on cliffside trails, recordings of whispers on the wind, or unexplained wet footprints on abandoned beaches. Drone footage has captured moments when shadows move against the tide, only to vanish when examined frame by frame. In Reykjavik's Folklore Museum, one exhibit invites visitors to listen to audio recordings taken near suspected haunting sites. In one clip, recorded at dusk near Dyrhóli, a muffled male voice seems to whisper the word heim, home, just as the wind dies. Scholars argue whether these modern sightings are real or the product of suggestion. But belief does not require proof, only resonance. And the Restless Sailor's tale resonates more than ever in an era defined by disconnection, displacement, and a growing awareness of what we've left behind. Whether he walks the shore or simply the collective memory of a people, the Restless Sailor has become more than myth. He is a cultural echo, haunting not only Iceland's cliffs, but its consciousness. A ghost of the old world, reborn in the language of the new. The sea gives life. It feeds, it carries, it connects distant lands. But it also takes, with no warning, no mercy, and no promise of return. Yet among its many secrets, one truth remains: the sea does not forget. In Icelandic folklore, the dead are never truly gone. Their stories linger like fog on the cliffs, like salt on the wind. And none more so than the tale of the Restless Sailor, the soul who drowned not in water, but in unfinished longing. He is no vengeful spirit, no mindless phantom. He is sorrow, given form. He is memory, set adrift. He walks the shore not to haunt, but to be remembered. to remind us of the ones who vanished into the waves and the ones left waiting on the rocks. His story is a thread in the tapestry of a nation shaped by the sea, a symbol of how deeply we are tied to what we cannot control. And so, the next time you hear the soft crunch of footsteps on gravel when the cliffs are empty, or you wake in the night to the sound of waves calling your name, do not be afraid. It may just be the sailor, still searching for the home he never found, still hoping that someone, somewhere, remembers his name. Because in Iceland, the sea may take, but it never truly lets go.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.